Salam everyone. Welcome to God's Level Earth, episode 8. Aliens are jinns? Please clear your mind from all preconceived notions on what you think the jinn are. Some say they are unseen and they possess people. These aren't Quranic concepts and come from external bias and misunderstandings of verses. We will go over those verses inshallah. We'll go through the verses and let the verses build information about them, the jinn, while comparing them to the alien UFO phenomena. Creation of jinn and men. While both are intelligent and morally responsible beings, their origins are fundamentally unlike one another. The origin of humanity, the first man, was created from clay, Quran 55:14, whereas the origin of jinn was created from smokeless fire before humanity, Quran 15:15. People think that because jinns are made from smokeless fire, that makes them invisible, non-physical beings. In the same way, we are not made from clay, and mankind being created from clay refers to Adam, the first human, while not referring to the rest of humanity. Jinns being created from smokeless fire can refer to the first jinns only and not their offspring. Secondly, being created from smokeless fire does not mean that the jinns are completely non physical beings. We need to look at the other verses and see how they describe the jinn. What is their purpose? According to the Quran, both humans and jinns have been created for the same purpose, which is to serve God. Quran 51:56. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. 51:56. And not I have created the jinn and the humans except that they serve me. Jinns are responsible for misleading disbelievers. 41:29. And those who disbelieve will say, Our Lord, show us those who misled us from the jinn and the men, so we may put them under our feet, so that they may be of the lowest. This verse shows that people will regret having followed both jinn and humans who deceived them. If we wish to avoid being misled by the jinn, it's essential that we first understand what exactly they are and what they are capable of. Jinns are morally responsible beings. Like humans, the jinn are morally responsible beings capable of both obedience and sin. Quran 55:39, who have been given the ability of reasoning and perception, such as sight and hearing. 7179. Indeed, we have destined many of the jinn and the humans for hell. They have hearts they do not understand with, eyes they do not see with, and ears they do not hear with. They are like cattle. In fact, they are even less guided. Such are the heedless. So, as you can see from this verse, jinns have hearts, eyes, and ears just like humans do, showing they are in fact physical beings. Good and bad jinns. The Quran teaches that they are too undergoing a test in this world, and those who refuse to submit to God also go to hell. At the same time, the Quran reveals their diversity. Some jinn are righteous and faithful, while others are unjust and rebellious. Thus, it would be false to say all jinn are evil, for among them are both those who follow God and those who oppose Him. A group of traveling jinn, 46:29. And when we directed to you a small group, Nafaran of the jinn, listening to the Quran, then when they attended it, they said, Listen quietly. And when it was concluded, they went back to their people as warners. 46:30. They said, Oh, our people, indeed we heard a book revealed after Moses, confirming what was before it and guiding to the truth and to a path straight. O our people, respond to the call of Allah and believe in Him. He will forgive you of your sins and protect you from a painful punishment. These verses inform us that a small group of the jinn were able to listen to the Quran from a distance. They were then directed to the Prophet by Allah. Then, when they reached him and attended his recitation, they listened quietly, showing they physically attended the recitation. They were also able to reach him before his recitation had concluded, showing they can travel vast distances at speed. After they listened to the Quran, they left and went to their people as warners, showing that those jinns have their own people. Jinns have genders. The Quran also informs us, like humans, the jinn possess genders, as it mentions men from among mankind seeking refuge with men from among the jinn. Quran 72:6. And that there was men from the humans who sought protection in men from the jinn, so they increased them in burden. This verse makes it clear that the jinns have genders, informing us about the male jinns. And it also informs us that some of the male humans sought protection from the male jinns. So humans are able to seek protection in jinns, and jinns are able to offer protection to humans. So there's a close communication here going on. Jinns can die, and they are part of the former nations. 46:18. Those are the ones who prove true against them The word among nations already passed away from before them of the jinn and the men. Indeed, they are the losers. 738. He will say, enter among nations from before, which had passed away from before you of the jinn and the men into the fire. Furthermore, the Quran affirms that, just as humans die, the jinn also experience death. This is made clear in Quran 46:18 and 738, which mentions earlier nations composed of both jinn and humans who have since passed away. This indicates that former communities were not made up solely of humans, but included jinn as well. The explicit reference to their passing highlights that jinn, like humans, are not immortal. This demonstrates they possess real finite bodies subject to death, further affirming that they are created beings operating within the physical order, not abstract or purely spiritual entities. Jinns were part of Solomon's army, 27:17, and were gathered for Solomon his soldiers, of the jinn and the men and the birds, and they set in rows. 27:18, until when they came to the valley of ants, said an ant, O ants, enter your dwellings, lest not crush you Solomon and his soldiers, while they not perceive it. Additional evidence that the jinn are physical beings is that you can see is Quran's 27:17, which shows that the jinns were part of the army of Solomon, along with humans and birds, and they were set in rows. How can they be in organized rows if the humans among his army couldn't see the jinns? The next verse shows that the ants fear that Solomon's soldiers will crush them, and his soldiers included jinns. So clearly the jinns could step on the ants. There are many kinds of jinns. Next, it is important to understand that the jinn are not a single uniform creation. Rather, the term jinn refers to a variety of beings with diverse abilities and characteristics, all of which fall under the broader category called the jinn. This is illustrated in Quran 6:1-8 when God addresses them on the day of judgment. On the day he will gather them all. He will say, O category, Masha of the jinn, certainly you have. Here, the Quran uses the word Masha when describing the jinn. This word refers to a collective bound together by a single essence or identity. It is often translated as assembly, but this can be misleading. Since in English, an assembly usually refers to a temporary gathering in one place. In classical Arabic, however, Masha refers more deeply to a group united by a common nature, a collective noun denoting a category of beings. Therefore, according to the Quran, the jinn are a species comprised of multiple, even radically different kinds of beings, yet are united under a single category called the jinn. The Quran use of masha highlights that the jinn functions as a name of a category, not a single uniform group, but as a broad class containing diverse subtypes within it. Masa usage in Quran 6:130 and 55:33. In verse 6:130 and 55:33, the verses begin with the phrase, O category Masha of the jinn and humans. At first glance, this might seem to treat jinns and humans as one combined collective, but that interpretation does not hold under closer analysis. First, as noted earlier, Masha refers to a group sharing a common nature or identity. Since jinn and humans are clearly distinct entities, placing them in one category would contradict the very definition of the word. So it can't be saying, O Masha of jinn and humans, with the intention of putting jinn and humans in the same group. Second, classical Arabic syntax normally requires repetition or a clear marker when a collective noun like Masha applies separately to more than one group. Since it's used only here, it naturally applies to the jinn alone. It can't mean, O category of jinn, and category of humans in brackets, because the grammar and structure does not support applying separately to both groups without repetition. The most coherent and linguistically consistent reading then is that Masha applies exclusively to the jinn, recognizing them as a category, while humans are addressed separately in the same statement, but without the same classification. This reading is further supported by Quran 6:1-8, where the word Masha is used only to address the jinn, with no mention of humans. This clearly shows that Masha can and does apply to the jinn alone, reinforcing the conclusion that it is in the joint phrase, it is the jinn who are being called a category, not humans. So I have all three verses here that use the word Masha. You can see 6:128. O category Masha of the jinn. 6:130. O category Masha of the jinn and humans, separate. Then it goes, did messengers not come to you from among you proclaiming my revelations, etc. And then you have 55:30. O category Masha of the jinn And humans, if you can penetrate beyond the realms of the heavens and the earth, then do so, but you can't do it without our authority. So it's like basically saying, oh, category of the jinn, oh, all the different types of jinn, right? Oh, category of the jinn, referring to them as a category, all the different types that come under the category. And humans, if you can penetrate beyond the realms of the heavens and the earth, then do so, but you can't do it without our authority. So it's challenging all the different types of jinns and the humans. And on the day he will gather them all, he will say, O category master of the jinn, certainly you have. As stated earlier, this verse informs us that the jinn is not one species and there are many different types of them who share the category of jinn. From this, we understand that it is not only humans here on earth, but also many other types of intelligent beings who all come under the category called jinn. When these beings are sighted, they get put into the label of alien, as that is how society views them, and they have been hidden and covered up by governments. We also have the element of TV shows and movies brainwashing people into rebranding jinns as aliens, right? Or the movies about aliens. In fact, a lot of the jinns actually look like what the movies show. So let's take a look at government whistleblowers and other sightings where people report seeing non-human intelligent beings here on Earth.
Well, there are 4 classifications of aliens here on Earth. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of highly respected Pentagon scientists and whistleblowers in classified briefings and private briefings. We've also heard this separately in our own reporting here at Redacted, so not just from the government side of this. Are we getting close to alien disclosure by the U.S. government? It sure seems that way, with a raft of new revelations in the past few weeks. At a recent UFO hearing on Capitol Hill, physicist Dr. Eric Davis, who you can see there in the sort of tan jacket, he worked on top secret Pentagon projects. He told members of Congress under oath that there are 4 different types of aliens that have a possibility of being operators of unidentified crafts. He witnessed them perhaps firsthand and even heard from other sources at secondhand. I'm not exactly clear on that. The 4 distinct alien types that he claims are this: Greys, Nordics, Insectoids, and Reptilians. Now, he answered that question directly when Congressman Eric Burleson asked him that question. He was sitting right next to him. There you can see him to his right. Missouri Representative Eric Burleson, member of the House Oversight Committee and UAP caucus. And after this public briefing, he said that he had heard the very same thing about 4 different alien species. He was told these things in private briefings by other insiders.
In the discussions, it's simply about material, or is there discussion about it was previously testified that there's biologics that were collected. Are you aware of any of that?
I am, sir, aware of the reporting that biologics have been recovered.
Was anything described as that we have possession of bodies?
Yes, yes.
We have is it multiple types of creatures, or?
Sir, I couldn't answer that. I can tell you anecdotally that it was discussed quite a bit when I was at the Pentagon. The problem is the supposed collection of these biological samples occurred before my time, in fact, before I was even born.
And was this part of the Lockheed Martin discussion, or was this the biologics is a completely separate?
Separate yet related.
Okay.
Left the service in 1976, the United States government knew for a fact that there were 4 separate, highly developed, high-technology extraterrestrial civilizations intimately involved with us. 4. Now, that was in 1976. That was a modest evaluation, we have learned. We have learned over the years that there is probably 50 or more, and some estimates have carried it up to 100. And I've heard Wendell discuss, he said, my God, some of the facts and the stuff I've heard, we may be being visited by thousands of people out there. Different groups from different places.
So one of the types that people report seeing are called the short grays. I'll play some clips about the short grays.
On September 16, 1994, something truly extraordinary happened in the small town of Rua, Zimbabwe. It was just another school day at the Aerial School, a private school surrounded by open fields and sparse woods, when suddenly over 60 children aged between 6 and 12 ran into the classroom screaming. They all claimed to have seen a shining silver craft descend from the sky and land in a field just outside the playground. What they described was eerily consistent, a metallic disc-shaped object, and 2 beings that stepped out, short, thin, with pale skin, huge black eyes, and oversized heads. But that's not all. Some children claimed the beings didn't speak, but somehow communicated telepathically, sending visions and messages directly into their minds.
We were playing down over there on the log.
Yeah.
And then we saw something shiny, so we all ran down over there.
And it was in the early morning?
It was at break time.
Yeah.
And then we saw something shiny. and we saw two people. They were in black, tight black suit, and they had big eyes and a small. We didn't actually see their nose. It was quite small, and their mouth was quite small as well. One of them was running in slow motion up across the ship, and the other one was standing beside the ship.
Yeah, you made a drawing, huh? It looked like this?
No, yeah, something like that. I couldn't see the eyes or the nose or the mouth. It was just blank, like a piece of paper.
But when they came, I thought they were crazy.
That's the first thing you saw?
I thought they were crazy, just coming to our school, just doing nothing. And all I saw was something like silver coming down, and I said, what must that be? And everybody's crowding it. I must go crowd too. And then I went and I started crowding, and everybody, then more people came and more. And then I said, hey, I can't see anymore. Come on, somebody, I'm short. Come on. And then I went to the front, and I started seeing more of them, and then I just ran away.
The day before the spaceship came, my friends and I we were sitting in the playground, and one of my friends, her name Emily, she looked up into the sky and she said, "Oh, there's a UFO." She said, and I looked at it and she said, "No, just kidding, it's an airplane." And we looked up and I thought to myself, that can't be an airplane because it was very shiny. It looked kind of like a cigarette, you know. It was a long thing, and then on the end it was all shiny. And so I said, maybe it is a UFO. So we were all kind of like getting scared now. And then the day that it happened, then we started thinking, yeah, there must have been a UFO in the sky because my brother also saw it, but he's left the school now.
It was sort of like a round shape, sort of like a plate, sort of like two plates that were sort of like on top of each other. Then there was sort of like the hole, the hatch for it, and it was sort of like in between two trees. But you couldn't see that clearly. It was just silver all over. And I didn't see any men or something like that.
You saw one UFO that's surrounded by little ones?
Yeah, one spaceship.
Yeah.
Little ones around.
Yeah, let me see. Let me see your drawing. One big one.
One big ship and then small ones surrounding it with there were lights.
Yeah.
Surrounding the ship.
Like Sean's, huh? This is Sean's drawing.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. And okay, one landed, the big one landed, and the two aliens came out.
Yes.
And what happened with the little ones?
The little ones, they were just floating around in the air. They didn't touch the ground.
And these made the silver lights?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're making different color lights, like
yeah,
green,
like
red.
flash to green, then they'd go to blue,
and then purple.
Yeah, purple and red. But it was like it was going like each one to each one, but quickly.
Yeah,
Like,
like they'll go there and they'll vanish and they'll go there and vanish and then vanish.
but going quickly. Like as if it was one ship moving. Yeah, basically.
I can this drawing. Were they yellow?
No, I didn't have a silver crayon, so I did it yellow.
Yeah. So, but what happened? You came home and you told your parents?
Yes. Some of them didn't believe it. My mom didn't believe me.
Your mom didn't believe you?
My mom didn't believe me.
Is that hard? Because if you see something and nobody believes you, what happens?
Yeah, you
feel
start,
sad.
you start to think as if it wasn't true. Yeah. And people say to you, no, it wasn't true, so you think it wasn't true.
Then you think that you're mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, you get all upset.
Yeah, and everyone starts teasing.
And my friends over the road, when I go there and I tell them about it, they just say, oh, he believes in aliens, oh, he's stupid.
You've seen too many movies?
Yeah.
Was there nobody in your neighborhood who believed you?
My granny and my granddad believed me, but my uncle didn't.
Where the spaceship had landed, all the insects and ants and stuff like that were all dead, and there was a huge black mark there. And my mum said it might have just been a fire there, but I don't think there was. I think it was the alien ship.
Yeah. But, you've gone to the place, of course, and have you seen anything?
No, we weren't allowed
An
to.
evidence? I mean, that it was there?
Some other people came to the school and they went out to the boundary of the playground and they went to go and see what had happened there, and they saw that the grass was burnt and all the living things had died there in that area.
Him and his parents and his brother and sister all believed me. And my mother just believed me, but my dad didn't believe anything I said. Anything.
And did you describe it to them? Exactly what happened?
Yeah, and I drew it on a paper and I said, Daddy, this is what it looked like. And then he drew it well and he said, Michael, I think you're telling the truth now.
You know, this is where it happened. This is not alien.
I didn't want to deal with it. Coming here and remembering all this stuff. So 20 years later,
we still have the same story.
I don't care if people think I'm crazy. I really don't.
It happened.
You bring the children to a point where they're interviewed now, many years after the experience.
It taught me to never doubt myself. We're taught to believe as a society that only these things can happen because this is what it has been. But you have to have an open mind. This experience has taught me that.
If there was one experience I'd like to relive, it would be that particular experience, where that's led me to be who I am today.
He has never stopped talking about it. And he has believed all the time that it did happen.
I asked my mom, I said, did you really believe me? And she said, well, you weren't a child who lied. And I may not have believed in what you saw, but I believed in you. So I guess in a way I kind of did. My dad doesn't really say too much about it. Again, very supportive in the fact that he knew that I was not a child who lied. And so therefore supported me. May not necessarily have believed in UFOs or extraterrestrials himself, but knew enough that I wouldn't make something like that up. Or let alone be influenced by other people. That just was not me.
And as an 11-year-old, we couldn't really put into words what it was we were seeing and trying to justify it. And so, it was very in like a human-esque form, but much shorter, really big head, really big eyes. If it did have a nose, couldn't really see it. But also the skin pigmentation was very, very different. It was very odd.
My name is Elias Mpofu. I teach grade 7 class.
And you were here in 1994?
Yes, I came here in 1994.
So you witnessed you heard the children come in from the schoolyard that day?
Yes, we had a staff meeting, and so the children were out by themselves.
Do you remember what happened? Did they come in? Were they screaming when they came in, or were they? Do you remember that?
They were quite excited.
Yeah.
They actually showed that they were very excited.
Yeah.
So they were screaming and shouting.
A lot of noise?
Yes, they made quite a lot of noise.
And what did you think at the time, back then? Did you, I know,
when it first happened, were you skeptical of what happened? You know, of what the children were saying?
To begin with, I didn't quite believe what they were saying. I thought maybe since there were a lot of people talking about UFOs having been seen around, I thought maybe it was just one of their imaginations.
Yeah. So you felt when the children came to you, or when you first heard about this, you felt...
I thought they were just imagining things.
So what changed your mind?
The consistency in their reports made me change my mind.
Yeah. How do you feel about it now?
I feel they saw something. Something really happened.
Did you ever talk to any of the students afterwards?
Yes,
yeah?
I had to.
Did they say anything to you about it, or...?
Yes, they said quite a lot about what they'd seen. About these funny-looking people who had just come to the school grounds.
It's hard to say what exactly happened?
They must have seen some of these aliens, actually.
Because of the way they described?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they must have seen them.
Another type people have reported is seeing these really, really little ones. I'll show a clip about it.
I was watching this documentary today. It's a new James Fox documentary about a UFO landing in Brazil in 1996. Holy shit, it's incredible. I had no idea that there's this city called Varginha, and in 1996, according to everyone who was there, according to medical records of people who were there, the military came in, they recovered a crashed UFO. And there was living creatures that people came in contact with, and one of them was this tiny little thing that this guy carried, and he carried it to wherever they were going to examine it. When he carried it, he got whatever was on its skin. It had like a slippery kind of skin. It got into his body and infected him, and he wound up with this horrible general infection. He wound up dying. His body shut down. His immune system shut down. His body didn't know what the fuck to do with this alien thing that he was interacting with. There's real records of this guy contacting this thing, grabbing it, carrying it in. All these people witnessed it, and then this guy winds up with this insane infection shortly thereafter. That's all documented too, all of his medical records.
Another one people have reported seeing are called the tall greys or tall whites. They're like the short greys, but they're a bit taller and more skinny and longer looking. Because the photos show. I'll show a clip about that.
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot. 9 feet, 10 foot, I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes, they have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% not human.
Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, you know what we're here to talk about today. Anyway, I wrote it all out to make it easier, so we're going to proceed that way. Anyway, let's begin. Today marks the second anniversary of an event that, after careful analysis, eventually proved once and for all that we're not alone in the universe. About 10 minutes before midnight Pacific time on April 30th, 2023, an object fell from the sky and landed in the Las Vegas backyard of the Kenmore family. The object was witnessed falling by numerous people in at least 4 states, including California, Utah, Arizona, and Nevada. It was captured on video via a Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officer's body camera, as well as from car cameras and home security cameras. This video, taken from a self-driving car that had the ability to film in long-wave infrared, revealed that the object had no heat signature. Being this close to the ground, had it been a meteoroid, it would have registered a heat signature, but a replay of the video shows that the object, when viewing it under long-wave infrared, becomes invisible. That means it was cold. The Kenmore family residence along West El Campo Grande Avenue in Las Vegas, teenage brothers Angel and Joshua were making repairs to their father Bobby's truck in their expansive backyard. Suddenly, the object that numerous people had seen falling from the sky made what can only be construed as a hard landing in the backyard. Angel Kenmore later told local Las Vegas podcaster Doug Papa that the object sported green and blue lights, and when it contacted the ground, it threw off red sparks before becoming invisible. When one looked at the area where the object landed, everything appeared blurry, but when you looked at other areas of the yard, everything appeared normal, Angel said. Angel also reported that no sooner did the object land, the patter of what sounded like thousands of footsteps running in various directions put him on high alert. The next thing Angel knew, he was face to face with an alien creature that stood 8 to 10 feet tall. The creature had a big head, big eyes, big teeth inside of a gaping mouth, and made growling-like sounds. Angel said he became momentarily paralyzed when his eyes met the creature's eyes. Scared for their lives, Angel and Joshua eventually broke free and exited the yard to tell Bobby and Mother Contra what had just happened. The father and his 2 sons then armed themselves with handguns and attempted to re-enter the backyard to face the invaders. Contra, meanwhile, smartly recorded the action with a cell phone camera. During this time, numerous alien creatures were attempting to hide themselves among the numerous vehicles and construction equipment situated throughout the property. The father and 2 sons then took a few steps into the yard, but one of the creatures immediately emerged from the darkness and moved toward them, causing the 3 to flee in terror. After gathering themselves, Bobby reopened the gate while his wife continued to film the backyard area for a few more moments. The family, apparently too scared to deal with this problem alone, then decided to call 911. In the 911 call, Angel and Bobby tell the dispatcher that there are 2 tall alien creatures in their yard. Here is the entire 911 call.
2023, 027 and 01 seconds.
911 emergency, Herberger 19452. Do you need police, fire, or medical?
Okay, I don't know if this is an emergency case. Me and my dad and my brother were working on a truck.
Police, fire, or medical?
Well, I think I need police because
What is the address that you need police?
I don't know. Is that the other? Okay, Lily, I'm so sorry. I know I'm wasting your time, but
It's not a waste of time. I just need to know where we're going before anything else.
okay, police. This police matter. This is police matter.
So what address?
6160 West El Campo Grande.
Okay, what's going on over there?
Okay, lady. Me, my dad, and my brother were working on a truck in our backyard, and we have a big lot outside, right? Correct?
Okay.
We were working, and we just see in the corner of our eye something fall down from the sky, and it was with lights. And when it hit down, it was like a big impact, and we felt like an energy. And then we hear like a lot of footsteps near us. And then we have a big equipment, and we see, and there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. And I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually we terrified with.
So there's 2 people or 2 subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% not human.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell them.
Okay, I'm getting a call started for you, okay? So, how long ago did this happen?
I'm looking at it right now, like when I saw something fall down.
How long ago
like
was that?
10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, and we were just checking, and you could feel like a weird energy, and you could feel something, but 100% there's like 1 or 2 on a big fork that we have, and they're very large, they're like 9 foot, 10 foot tall.
Okay.
And this is not a joke. I know I don't want to waste you guys' time. I know it's probably more emergency, but this is scary.
Okay, do they appear under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or you don't know?
No, really, no.
Okay.
I don't drink. I'm 18. I don't drink.
I understand. I'm talking about the people that are in your backyard.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Yes.
Okay, I'm talking about the things that are in your backyard. Do they appear under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or you don't know?
Lily, I don't know, lady. They don't
Do they have any weapons?
No, they don't think they have weapons, but they're very tough humans.
Okay, I already have a call set up, okay? My questions aren't delaying any kind of help.
Okay.
So what do they look like?
Okay, they're like a neon color lights. Like their eyes look like neon. Like you can see very bright from very far away.
Okay.
They're about 10, 11 foot tall. And they're like there's 2 of them. And they're like a greenish tan color.
Okay.
First, okay, we're working on a truck. We see something fall from the sky in the backyard.
Okay, so hang on. So it's green or tan colored eyes. Can you tell me anything else about them in case they take off?
They're tall. They're very large, and they're very like big, muscular. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Maybe they're only aliens. 100%. I know I'm not stupid.
Okay, are they wearing clothes? Can you tell me anything else?
No, they're naked. No, there's no clothes. You can just see them shining.
Okay.
They're naked.
And your brother and your dad are still there?
They're right here next to me.
Okay, can I speak to one of them?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, it's Metro Police on a recorded line. Do you still see them outside?
Well, I don't want to go all the way there because I have the heavy equipment in my bike.
Okay. And are you the father or the brother?
Yeah, I'm a father.
Okay.
So
how
I
long
went
ago
back
did
there.
you see them?
That's 20 minutes, 18, 20 minutes around there. So we
they're green, correct?
Yeah, they're like green, but very tall. They're about 11 foot tall. Well, I have a couple of feathers in the back. They're very tall. They were like 10 tall as feathers. Like,
Okay.
I have heavy equipment, so
All right.
very large.
Are you able to lock all the doors inside?
Yes.
Okay. Are all the doors locked right now?
Well, we outside. The back door's out.
Okay.
We outside.
Are you able to go inside and lock the doors? I don't want you to put yourself in danger in case they have any weapons.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go inside. Come on, Ivy. It was like a big light. It was like big, a lot of color lights, and then a lot of color lights disappeared. Yeah.
Are you able to give me any other description other than that they're very tall, muscular, green, tan-colored skin? Can you tell me anything else about them?
No. I could see them walk. They walk like I have a heavy equipment there, like right there. I don't know. So we can see it's not close to them. No, they look like both heads.
Could you tell if they had any weapons or no?
No, I don't see nothing. No, I don't.
Okay. All right.
That was so bad. Actually, when I went back there, I was walking back to my house, my yard, to my house, and I couldn't. I could see the energy. I couldn't walk no more. So that was kind of weird.
Okay. What is your first and last name?
Bobby.
Another one people report seeing are called reptilians. I'll show some clips.
In the process, I brought up the subject of the reptile aliens and my belief about the reptile aliens and what the ancient peoples of the ancient world, the Babylonians, the Sumerians, the Phoenician Canaanites, the Egyptians, especially the Sumerians, all the ancient peoples of the world talked about the reptile aliens. And so I just brought that up in passing. And I think that there aren't reptile aliens. I've heard too many stories, and then I told some of the stories that I had heard. Well, after the program, I got a phone call from a guy who later on I found out is an extremely wealthy businessman in Las Vegas. He buys and sells hotels and commercial properties in Vegas, and he was the biggest there. And he said to me, he said, Jordan, we listen to Lou Upton. We love Lou Upton. So in the office in the mornings, we listen to Lou Upton on the show. And he says, but this morning when you came on, we we got so interested in listening to you that everybody just kind of quit work for a little bit and was listening to you. And he says, and when you mentioned the reptile aliens, it shocked us. And he said, I'm a Christian, and I have 5 men who work for me in my office, and they're Christians, and they all belong to the same church. We all go to the same church, and all 6 of us are in the office, and we were hearing you today. And he said, when you mentioned reptile aliens, I had to call you and tell you, we're Christians. But every year, we go somewhere in the world on vacation, and my company pays for everything. And he says, so I take, and all 6 families go together on a vacation somewhere. And he says, and last year, now this was like in 88, so he's talking about 87. And he said, last year, we decided to go camping for a couple of weeks in Colorado. And he says, we were up in the mountains, and we broke camp one morning, and we walked up to the top of this mountain. We were almost there anyway, at camp, and then the next morning when we broke camp, we walked up to the top of the mountain to look over the lay of the land. And he said that out in the valley, we could see that there had been an area that had been cleared away. It was like a round area that had been cleared away. And there was a circle of people out there, and they were all wearing robes, and they were all holding hands and swaying back and forth, singing and chanting. You could barely hear them. But he said, but it was very quiet where we were. We could see that there was some kind of a ritual dancing or swaying back and forth in a circle. They were all holding hands. And there was obviously somebody in the middle, like a priest or something in the middle. And he said, this is out in the middle of nowhere. But these people are out here with this thing that they're doing. And he said, we're up here in the mountains looking down on them. And he said, while we were standing there looking at them, all of a sudden, a second figure popped up out of nowhere. But it was bigger than the man that was in the middle. It's in the middle too, but it's much bigger. And it pointed up at us. And he said, and all the singing stopped, everybody stopped and pointed. And he said, we knew we'd been had. And he says, we didn't know what was going on, but whatever it was, it just popped in out of nowhere, pointed up at us, and everybody is now pointing at us. And he said, so we figured we better just get out of here. And he said, when we turned around, it was standing behind us. That thing which was down there was already behind us. That's how quick it moved. He said, when we turned around to run, there was a reptile alien standing behind us. He said this thing was at least 7 to 7.5 foot, to maybe 8 foot tall, had a reptile male man's head, but it was a reptile head. It was very muscular, it looked like a human body, on the ordinary of a human body, but a reptile body. Extremely muscular, and he said, and it was looking at us, and he said, it cast some kind of a spell on us so that the children and the women, no one could move. We were like frozen. And he said, and even nobody could say anything, nobody could cry, nobody could run, nobody could do anything. And he said, we were staring at it, and it was looking at us, but it had control over us. It had locked us so that we couldn't move, we couldn't scream, we couldn't do anything. And he said, and this thing was gazing at all of us, looking at the children, looking at the women. He said, this reptile alien, and he says, we're just Christians in a church, but we saw a reptile alien. This thing was not of this world. And he said this thing was looking at all of us. And then he said it looked at the men, and the look he gave us, we understood. He didn't say anything, but we knew. He was saying, I'm going to leave you alone. But when I leave here, you better get out of here. And he said, the alien walked over like he was leaving, is gone. Just like they was gone. And he said when he was gone, the moment he was gone, everyone came back to life. And the babies were screaming, the women were yelling, screaming. Everybody came back to life instantly. And he says, we ran like we were totally out of our minds, running back to the cars. We ran down the hill, got in the cars, and the women were screaming, the children were yelling, and he says that we drove back, and he said it was the most incredible, horrible experience. And he says, all the guys in my office will tell you, we saw a reptile alien in Colorado. So when you're talking about, he says, so when you're talking about reptile aliens in the ancient world, I got news for you. There's one we know for sure in Colorado. We saw him. And he said this thing ran back and went so fast, it was just, it's gone. But that's how fast it came up behind us. We knew that we'd been spotted, we turned around, and it was too late. It's already standing here. And he said, so when I hear tales now about people who have seen reptile aliens, I got to tell you, there's 6 families here. We all belong to the same church, and I will guarantee you we saw one. You can bet on it. So, and I found out because I started asking questions when I was in Vegas about this man and his company. And yes, he's a very wealthy man and a very, very big company, well known in Las Vegas for buying and selling hotels and big properties. And he said, yeah, I'm just telling you what happened to us.
And my suspicion, which may well be yours as well,
Say it
is
again?
my suspicion, and it may well be yours as well, is that for every person who comes forward and reports a story, there are 100 others who don't.
Oh, I'm probably right. You're probably right.
Maybe 1,000 others who don't, because who's going to come forward publicly and say a story like that? Not many.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons, of course, why I want to encourage you to, why I have been supporting you and coming forward to tell the stories, not only to support David Icke, but it's to support other people who have had these experiences, because I suspect that they are fairly widespread and nobody wants to talk about it.
Well, you're right.
That's my guess.
Did you ever talk to Dr. Roger Lear about his case up in Bakersfield?
I don't believe so. I know Roger Lear, and he's a very good man. I don't think I know about the Bakersfield incident. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm just trying to remember the story basically. If he were here, he would give you the real dope on it. But I'm just remembering the basic story is that there was a guy up in Bakersfield who is a fire investigator. He's a fireman investigator for the fire department. And he has been having reptile aliens coming into his bedroom. Him and his wife have had reptile aliens, he says, were coming into his bedroom. They didn't harm him, but he said, he was telling Dr. Lear, because he called Roger Lear, because Roger is noted for his work with aliens and implants. And so Roger went up to see him, and this guy's with the fire department as an investigator, arson investigator for the fire department. And he said that the guy was saying that at night, him and his wife were in bed, and the wall facing them became like water. It looked like water. And reptile aliens walked through. And when they came through, then the wall came back into a wall again. And he said that they stood there looking at him and walking around the room. And he said, we were so frightened out of our wits. We're just watching these reptile aliens walking around in the bedroom. And he said, then we feel the strange feeling again, and the wall becomes like a water. And I think it's interesting that that's the way, you know, what is it, Star Trek or whatever it is, the wall looks like water. Well, this is a long time ago. This guy was talking, that's a long time ago. And, and he said the aliens will walk back through again. So he said, so what they decided to do was they got a towel, large, big towels, which were the same color as the carpet. And I'm just trying to remember all of this from the experience, but they glued on the back or taped on the back aluminum foil, about 6 or 8 sheets of aluminum foil over and over on top of each other, and taped them on the towel and laid it back over. So the idea was that anything coming through that wall will not see the towel because it's the same color as the floor, and will walk, and the impression will be on the aluminum foil to prove that there was something in that room. And he said, and sure enough, these things come back on a few days later. They came back and walked through and walked around and looked at him and her in the bed, and then walked back over and walked back through the wall again. And he said, I've got them. They stepped on the carpet, on the towel. And he said, yeah, and they pick it up, and you could see the imprint of the foot. I think he said there was like 3 fingers on the foot. And yet there was a piece of the nail was caught in the carpet. And they took that piece of nail and they called Dr. Lear and showed it to him. And they've had that little piece of a nail sent to, I don't know, Los Alamos or some one of those big research laboratories, government research labs. And they said that this was, it was still alive. It was still living. It was a living tissue, and it was still alive. And that it was seen to be growing. When they got it, as opposed to where it was now, it's grown in length, so it seems to be growing, even though it's not connected to the body. It's still growing. And so that's just one more story about reptile aliens.
Did they get any analysis of what this... was this in the days of DNA tests when they could...
Well, yeah, you know what? He was just telling me this off the cuff, you know, and he didn't go into much, because I guess we were talking about reptile aliens. He said, well, you know, I'm just having some investigation of something's going on right now up in Bakersfield. But they did get a footprint on the aluminum foil to show that there was something came through the wall, whatever it was. So
these are, you're just confirming that these are apparitions.
Yeah, these apparitions actually have weight.
They have weight, they have weight.
Because they came through the wall, and their imprint is on the aluminum foil.
Yeah, and they have some kind of interdimensional capability.
Exactly, they have interdimensional capabilities that can come through and walk back into.
Jinns with abilities, teleportation. This becomes even more evident when examining other verses in the Quran that highlight the extraordinary abilities of the jinn. During Solomon's reign, they were part of his council. When he requested that the throne of the Queen of Sheba be brought to him, one of the jinns transported it from her kingdom to Solomon's presence in less than a blink of an eye. It appeared instantly before him at his command. The jinn was able to teleport to another kingdom and place the queen's throne to him in a blink of an eye. Another jinn, described as an ifrit, a powerful one, offered to bring her throne before Solomon before he rises from his seat. These accounts demonstrate that some of the jinns possess the ability of teleportation, even being able to teleport over very large distances, whilst even transporting physical objects with them. This is evidence that there are different species of jinn with unique abilities. So if you remember from the reptilian story about the Christian family that were in the mountains in Colorado, when they got to the top of the mountain, they saw at the bottom of the mountain a group of people doing some weird ritual, and a reptilian figure appeared at the bottom of the mountain. Then as they turned around to run away, that being was already there behind them. And they all froze, and then it looked at them, and then it started walking away and then just disappeared like that. So the jinn are physical, as you can tell from the accounts and from even the verses, right? But they also have non-physical abilities like teleportation, etc., like being able to teleport. Jinns can be builders. Furthermore, the Quran tells us that some of the jinn were skilled builders, capable of constructing works far beyond human ability of their time. During the time of Solomon, they labored under his command, building lofty palaces, statues, great reservoirs, and fixed cooking cauldrons. This indicates that the jinn possessed a level of technological advancement surpassing that of humans of their era, suggesting that even today the jinns possess technologies far beyond those of modern humanity. Then you have the verses there. So of the jinn are master builders. Today these jinns are what people call aliens, and they build advanced UFO craft as well as other technologically advanced things.
A House Oversight and Accountability Subcommittee held a historic hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, also known as UFOs. Lawmakers heard from 3 witnesses today, including former U.S. military and intelligence community personnel who claim to have come into contact with such objects. Natalie Brand has more now from that hearing.
We have nothing close to it.
Retired Navy Commander David Fravor testified before Congress about an encounter he cannot explain. A strange tic-tac-shaped object he says he saw in the sky during a training mission in 2004.
The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are digging into the national security concerns and the mystery posed by unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, also known as UFOs.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years. I know the exact locations.
A whistleblower who formerly worked on the Defense Department's UAP task force, David Grush, claims he was denied access to information on a government UFO crash retrieval program, something the Pentagon disputes.
Biologics came with some of these recoveries.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to.
Congress members from both sides of the aisle are demanding more transparency from the U.S. Department of Defense. A recent report revealed the government is investigating more than 650 potential sightings, but Ryan Graves of Americans for Safe Aerospace says there's still a stigma around reporting.
Right now, we need a system where pilots can report without fear of losing their jobs.
The witnesses say better data is needed to determine what the identified objects are and their origins. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Jinn are able to reach and remain in the heavens. The Quran also describes the jinn as reaching the heavens and even remaining there in fixed positions, not falling or needing to stay in motion. Quran 72, 8-9. They did this before there was a defense mechanism which now stops them from reaching the highest heavens. This suggests jinns possess advanced technological means which allowed them to ascend and maintain fixed position within the heavens. What we call the UFO phenomenon is just the jinns and their technologically advanced craft traveling around the earth through the lower heavens. Some of these craft have been taken and re-engineered by humans, as the jinns have given humans some of their technology. Jinns can be divers. Other jinn are described as divers, possessing the ability to plunge into the depths of bodies of water, and they too serve Solomon by diving for him. Quran 21:82. This means we expect to find jinns not only on land, but also in the depths of bodies of water. I will now play a clip about some sightings of jinns in deep water oceans.
The most chilling encounter revealed in Russia's declassified reports doesn't involve unidentified submersible objects, but the alien creatures believed to inhabit them. Siberia, 1982. With a depth of 1,642 meters, Lake Baikal is the deepest freshwater lake in the world. Russian Navy divers are conducting a research mission. Given the depth of the lake and its frigid temperature, little is known about what lies beneath the surface. 7 Russian divers are at a depth of 50 meters, when suddenly, the frogmen realize they are being watched.
These strange humanoid figures were much bigger than human beings and appeared to be wearing helmets of some sort. What on earth are we to make of an encounter like this? It's one thing to talk about USOs, but quite another to talk about humanoid entities deep in the lake.
These were large beings, human shaped but like 9 feet tall, wearing what seemed like very tight-fitting silvery suits. Not your normal scuba gear, basically, swimming in the water, what they've come to call the swimmers of Lake Baikal.
What were these creatures? Why did they not seem to use what we would be using to sustain life? There were no oxygen tanks. So there are lots of interesting facets to this. You have creatures that are underwater and surviving with technology that we don't comprehend.
The Russian divers then make a fateful decision. They try to capture one.
The divers attempted to capture one of these creatures, but at this point, so the documents say, the entities reacted.
A powerful, unknown force suddenly propels the entire group of divers up from the deep water to the surface.
They did a rapid rise to the surface of the water. Well, when you do that too fast, you suffer from decompression and you get the bends, and it's deadly. There were 7 of these divers, and 3 of them died. And 4 were very severely injured as a result of this.
Why did these creatures react the way that they did? I have to think that when we began to act aggressively, when the divers wanted to capture one of these creatures and throw a net over it, that perhaps they were reacting in a defensive way when they expelled the divers to the surface.
If we can believe what we've read in the reports, these are extraterrestrial beings, something otherworldly.
Could these Lake Baikal creatures really be from another world, as UFO researchers believe?
I want to play Congressman Burchett's soundbite here so we can hear the congressman in his own words. This isn't some random kook. He's a member of Congress. Watch.
What if these are entities that are here on this earth, that have been on this earth, that, who knows how long, and that we, you know, we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennia ago, but they're here and they're in these deep water areas. And that's why, I mean, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. And we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just, it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour, and the best we've got is something that does maybe just a little under 40 miles an hour. So I got a lot of questions about that stuff, and I mean,
Jinn can vibrate themselves. Another ability of the jinn is hinted in the story of Moses in the Quran. In verses 27:10 and 28:31, it says, "And throw your staff." Then he saw it vibrating as if it was a jinn, Janun. So he turned and fled without looking back. This verse is often mistranslated with Janun rendered as snake. However, Janun means jinn. So usually they translate it as when Moses threw his staff, they say, they throw your staff, then he saw it moving as if it was a snake, right? But Janun doesn't mean snake, it means jinn, and the word here doesn't mean movement, it means like a vibrating, rapid motion. And Tazu describes something that moves with a rapid, continuous vibration. This verse suggests that the Moses' staff vibrated rapidly as if it was a jinn. That's what it says. He saw it vibrating as if it was a jinn, vibrating rapidly as if it was a jinn, implying that the jinn possesses the ability to vibrate themselves at high speed. So when the jinn vibrate themselves rapidly, as the verse says they can, they would become difficult or even impossible to see, as the human eye and cameras can't process bodies moving that quickly. As a result, when the jinn activate this ability, they may appear as a blur, shadowy figure, or become entirely invisible depending on the lighting and the surrounding environment. So it's like if you hold your hand out in front of you to the side and you move your hand back and forth, you'll see that it becomes a blur. When you do the vibrating rapid back and forth motion, your hand becomes a blur. So when the jinns do that to their entire bodies, this is vibrating, moving back and forth, their entire bodies on the spot, like their cells are vibrating, they become a blur, they become hard to see. This ability is used by the jinn to conceal themselves at will and make it difficult to see their true form. If you remember the Las Vegas backyard alien incident, a clip I showed you earlier, he first sees it in his backyard in its true form. When he describes what he saw to the police on the 911 call, he describes a tall, white-looking jinn. You can see the photo on the right. Later on, he goes to the backyard with the rest of his family holding weapons, and you can see a blurry figure teleport next to him and approach them by the fence. This is the same jinn, however, this time the jinn is using its vibrating ability to conceal itself and reduce its opacity.
It's one thing to squint at a fuzzy video on YouTube and then decide space aliens do or do not exist. And it's another thing entirely to subject those sightings to the same kind of scientific rigor that puts, say, killers in prison. Scott Roeder is that kind of skeptic. He is an evidence expert and crime scene reconstructionist with 33 years of experience and 1,500 cases to his credit. He is the founder of the Evidence Room, a group that assembles specialists in forensic animation, 3D modeling, and motion graphics. He took a close look at the video that was recorded by that family in Las Vegas, and he applied his technology to try to debunk it. Here he is on his YouTube channel, Crime Scene, discussing what he calls the entity in the family's backyard.
We can take a video and look at whether or not there is an artificial artifact added to it or not. And in this case, we can definitively say, to a degree of scientific certainty, that this entity, this thing in the video, is there in the physical reality in which the Kenmore family is also there. Like, this is so critical because you can clearly see through the slots in the fence that there is a leg motion moving from the right to the left side of the screen. And clearly it is behind there. So this isn't just like a head floating in space. This is a head of that is somehow that does not have full opacity, that the opacity of the head of the shadow is only at about 33% opacity versus a normal shadow, which would be at 100% opacity, or an object in the screen, which is at 100%. And this isn't anything that you did. It's just what you were able to determine, that this shadow being, or this being in the shadows, possibly creating its own shadow or smoky filter or cloaking technique, is not only cloaking itself from the people there, but cloaking itself from the camera itself, in that it's minimizing our ability to identify pixels inside of that shadow.
So the jinn is doing this by vibrating itself in a continuous rapid vibration. What happens here is that when the jinn vibrates itself rapidly, they become difficult or even impossible to see, as the human eye and cameras can't process bodies moving that quickly. As a result, when the jinn activate this ability, they may appear as a blur, a shadowy figure, or become entirely invisible depending on the lighting and the surrounding environment. When something vibrates or moves in a rapid motion back and forth, it becomes a blur. And this is exactly what the jinn is doing, and what that guy was describing, how it was able to reduce its opacity and become a blur, a shadowy figure. It's just vibrating itself.
For another look, let's take another look at the shadows and the fence. Full speed first.
Χώρα με και καν τις παρίτ λέγα ζέγγε, αλλά τσόρσι χώρα. Τσόρσι.
Right in the left hand.
Καν τις παρίτ λέγα ζέγγε, αλλά τσόρσι χώρα.
A regular shadow. As Red Hat walks forward, his shadow disappears. Nothing behind the fence, nothing above the fence. Key moment right here. Shadow flies in rather quickly. From behind to the right, whips around, fence begins to darken, and most notably, right up here. Bottom line, the movement of these shadows is inconsistent with their movement. Let's take a closer look. Huh.
Clearing the misconception that you can't see jinn. A verse that is often misunderstood and taken to mean that the jinn are permanently invisible is Quran 7:27. Indeed, he sees you, he and his, qablihu, kind, from where you do not see them. Please pause the video and read my response to this verse, as there's quite a lot of content and the video is quite long already. So you have this slide, pause it and read it, and this slide. Please pause it and read it. Jinn can have children with humans. This is proven in 1764, which says, "And incite whoever you can among them with your voice, and rally against them with your cavalry and infantry, and be a partner in the wealth and the children, and promise them, and not promises them Satan except delusion." This verse states that Satan, who is a jinn, will be a partner with us in wealth and children. Partnering with us in children means he will share children with us, which clearly means he can have children with us, humans. The next verse that I want to show as evidence is Quran 6:128. This verse is usually mistranslated, so I'm going to read the verse as the people usually translate it as. "And the day he will gather them all, O assembly of jinn, certainly you have misled many of mankind, and will say their friends among the men, our Lord, profited some of us by others, and we have reached our term which you have appointed for us. He will say the fire is your abode, will abide forever in it, except whoever Allah wills. Indeed, Allah your Lord, all wise, all knowing." So this word here is usually translated as "you misled many" or "you seduced many." This is an incorrect translation of the word. Let's take a look at the actual meaning of this word. So this word means, it's in form X, to make something many, to increase, to multiply something, to gather a large number. In this verse, it is the jinns are the ones doing the action. The doer is the jinn, because the verse says, "O category of the jinn," followed by the active verb, you, plural, increased, multiplied, gathered in large numbers. So the jinn are the ones performing the action of increasing, multiplying, and gathering. The next part from the humans is indicating the source of their multiplying and their increase. So in 6:128, the jinns themselves are the ones who increased, multiplied. They are the subject, the doers, the ones performing the action. There is no possibility that the humans are the ones who increased, multiplied, or gathered. And there is no possibility that some unknown thing increased by itself. So the meaning is, the jinn increased, the jinn multiplied, the jinn gathered in large number. What? From the humans means only tells you where the increase came from, not what was increased. Put simply, the jinn are the ones who increased, humans the source from which that increase happened. The verse does not say humans increased. The verse does not say the humans were increased. The verse does not say what exactly was increased, only who did it, the jinn, and where it came from, the humans. The shortest possible clarification: the jinns are the one who increased, humans are the source from which that increase occurred. So the correct translation reads, and the day he will gather them all together, he will say, O category of the jinn, indeed you increased, multiplied in numbers from the humans. The jinns are the ones doing the increasing and multiplying, and they derive their increase from humans. This means that the jinns use humans to multiply, increase in numbers. As discussed earlier, this includes by having sex with humans, leading to reproduction, as well as other methods involving humans. So the verse is addressing category of the jinn. So it's saying, all the different types of jinns, you increased, multiplied in numbers from the humans. So all the different types of jinns are doing this thing, using humans to increase in numbers, themselves in numbers. So one more point is that this word is in verb form X, which means that this was something that they were actively pursuing, putting effort into, making an objective, focusing on, and they were busy with it. It describes a major intention and focus. So they were putting a lot of energy in trying to increase and multiply the numbers from the humans. So it's deeper than just you did it. It's saying that they gave a lot of intention, they were busy, a lot of focus, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, actively pursuing. This is something they were doing. Check out this video. It goes over a bunch of alien abduction reports where people claim they were abducted by aliens, and the common theme between them is that the jinns conduct reproductive based experiments on them. So this video here, alien abduction experience, the examination table. And here there's many people who report being abducted by aliens, by non-human creatures, taking them onto their ships and conducting experiments on them, and they actually see the jinns. For example, men report having semen removed via needle injections, and women have needles inserted into their womb and other instruments inside of them. Some women report the jinns taking embryos from them and undeveloped babies they didn't even know they had. My understanding is that the reason they are doing this is because they are using human reproductive system to create more of their own kind, taking semen from men and impregnating women and taking embryos from them. So 6128 says, and the day he will gather them all together, he will say, O category of the jinn, indeed you increase, multiplied in numbers from the humans. So the reason why they abduct people and do these reproductive-based experiments on them is so that they can increase more of their own kind. So please check out this video. It's very interesting. You'll see all the reports where people are claiming to be abducted by aliens. Majority of them are reproductive-based experiments. Humans can have sex with jinns. In Prophet Lot's story, he asked his people why they approached the males from the rational creatures, alamina. This word is usually translated as worlds, but this is incorrect. This word means rational creatures. He's asking his people why they approach the men from the rational creatures. This includes humans and jinns. This wording is specific because the people of Lot were not only having gay sex with humans, but they were also doing gay sex with jinns. 26:165. Do you approach the males from the rational creatures, alamina? Like, do you approach the men from the alamina? Doesn't say humans. Do you approach the male humans? He's literally asking them, do you approach the males from the alamina, the rational creatures? Leaving the wives that your Lord has created for you, in fact, you are transgressing people. This proves that humans and jinns can have sex, and that during Prophet Lot's time, his people were also having gay sex with jinns. You can watch this video of a man who claims that he woke up and there was a female alien, which we know as Jinn, an alien being who raped him. There was also another female alien on the bed as well who was pregnant and instructing the one who was on top of him what to do. He passed multiple lie detector tests on live TV, and the alien being left a hair sample from the female alien was also part of the evidence. After he had finished by releasing her, the two jinn beings instantly vanished as if they teleported away. So basically he woke up, says here, the being was naked and straddling me. He woke up and there was a jinn on top of him, and she like held him down and did her thing while there was another one next to him. After the event, when he was done, just like that, they both disappeared, and the jinn being left hair samples behind. So you can watch this video and it explains it. Some humans will work with the jinn, 6128, and the day he will gather them all together, he will say, O category of the jinn, indeed you increased, multiplied in numbers from the humans. And will say their allies from the humans, our Lord, benefited some of us by others, and we have reached our term which you have delayed for us. The second part of the verse informs us that jinns have human allies that work with them for mutual benefit. If you remember about the reptilian alien story about the Colorado family in the mountains, there was humans in robes doing some weird ritual, and the jinn being was there. So there's a allyship, a mutual benefit thing going on there. Maybe they worship that being or whatever was going on, they were working together. So also, if you check out this video in the bottom right, it talks about how the president of the USA made an agreement with a faction of the jinn known as the Greys, where the US government allowed them to abduct US citizens as long as they return them safely, and in exchange, those jinns would give the US government advanced technology. This is an example of partnering between jinn and humans based on mutual benefit in modern times. And in fact, the agreement allowed the Greys to abduct US citizens, and you'll find many of the reports of abductions, they're reproductive based experiments. You'll see the top part of the verse talking about how jinns use humans to increase themselves in numbers. The second part of the verse talking about how humans and jinns work together. And then you have an example where the US government allowed these jinns to abduct humans, where they ended up doing reproductive based experiments on them. In exchange, the jinns would give them advanced technology. I will now show a video from 1993 where Sergeant Major Robert Dean, who had top secret clearance in the US military, explains that the US government has hidden military projects where they spend billions of dollars every year on advanced technology. And in the top secret military bases, they have non-human entities, which they call aliens, which we know are actually jinns, working with them to produce advanced technology, which includes UFO technology. This is a prime example of jinns and humans working together for mutual benefit.
You knew what they were doing with your money. They're spending $50 billion of your tax money every year under black projects, programs where they do not have to go to Congress to explain where that money is going. $50 billion a year. It jumped from 35 to 40 to 45, and now it's 50. My God, look at the national debt. How much longer are we going to be able to put up with that? When we've got what they call at Groom Lake, unfunded opportunities flying over there that are circular, metallic, that don't make any noise, that raise up off the ground silently with a small humming sound and dart away at 5, 10, 15,000 miles an hour. Ladies and gentlemen, you not only have been taken to the cleaners, you've made a couple of round trips. Some years ago, a couple of crashes in Mexico that we retrieved the hardware. Not only did we retrieve the hardware, but we retrieved bodies. Some dead, some alive. Some of the alive bodies we kept alive for quite a while. Rumor has it that at least one of them is still alive. Well, that's one story. The other story is there are 25 or 30 of those little guys over there at Groom Lake at about 20 levels down at S4 that are working with us, that gave us hardware. And we are not only putting bits and pieces together, but we are flying the aircraft and we are flying prototypes, coming up and hovering, darting around, going back down, darting off at a very high rate of speed, coming back, doing all kinds of things that traditional aircraft can't do. So over there at your $50 billion skunk works, we have hardware that's flying. Apparently we do have a relationship with one alien group over there. Rumors that I have heard from reliable people that I trust indicate that we now have a relationship with at least 3 different groups. Not only the one that looks like us, but the big-nosed guys and the little grays. And this thing gets curiouser and curiouser, as Alice in Wonderland said. What is our government up to? What kind of involvement do they really have with alien intelligence? And why is it important that we pay attention and try to get a handle on what's going on here?
Jinn Whispering, chapter 114. Chapter 114 says, Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the one who whispers, the one who withdraws, the one who whispers in the breasts of mankind, from among the jinn and the men. So people think that this chapter is talking about Satan, right? Like it's a dua against Satan. That is incorrect. And if you have it that way, it'll get confusing, right? Because if you think Satan is the one, the evil one who whispers, and Satan is the one who withdraws, why does it then say from the jinn and the man? So from the evil one who whispers, the one who withdraws, the one who whispers in the breast of mankind. Okay, that's Satan. But then it says from the jinn and the mankind. So the source of those whispers are from jinn and mankind, but it's Satan. So like, what does it mean by the last part? From the evil one who whispers, the one who whispers in the breast of mankind. Okay, that's Satan. And this is from the jinn and the men. It's confusing, but it's actually not about Satan specifically. It's saying from the evil one who whispers, the one who withdraws. This is anyone who's doing this action. The one who whispers in the breast of mankind, anyone who does this action from the jinn and the mankind. So any jinn and any human can do this action of whispering. You're saying that it's a dua or a prayer that you do to protect you from whispers, from the one who whispers, the one who withdraws, the one who whispers in the breast of mankind, from any jinn or humans. Now, obviously, we know Satan is a jinn, so it would include him. If he does that to you, if he does this thing to you, since he's a jinn, he's covered here in this category. So waswas means to whisper, to secretly insert inner prompting thoughts, ideas into the chest. So it includes thoughts, feelings, mental images, scenes, fears, desires, doubts, and impulses. The jinn are able to whisper into the breast of mankind, into the chest of man. They can whisper, put ideas, put thoughts into you. And then it says that the mankind can also do that. So jinns can do it and humans can do it. How can a human put thoughts, ideas into someone, into their breasts? It's not like, oh, do this, go and do this evil thing. Because that's not a waswas whisper into the breasts. That's just me telling you to do something, right? So this slide explains it. So chapter 114, whispering to the breasts of mankind from the jinn and the mankind. So when a jinn does it, we have the example of Satan. It says, Satan whispering to Adam, he used it for the purpose of communication. So 21:20, then Satan whispered waswas to him. He said, O Adam, shall I direct you to a tree of eternity and a kingdom that will not deteriorate? And we have chapter 7:20 as well. Then Satan whispered to both of them and said, Your Lord did not forbid you both from this tree, except that you both become angels or immortals. And he swore to both of them, Indeed, I am to both of you among the sincere advisors. So Satan, a jinn, whispered to humans to communicate with them. So if we go back, it means that he put these thoughts, ideas into Adam to communicate this message. O Adam, shall I direct you to a tree of eternity in a kingdom that will not deteriorate? So Adam gets he gets a thought. Oh, Adam, shall I direct you to a tree of eternity in a kingdom that will not deteriorate? These ideas come to him, but he's looking at Satan, right? But Satan isn't speaking to him with words. Satan is going and whispering into his thoughts, giving him these thoughts, these ideas. So he knows what Satan is saying to him, but it's not verbal. It's a waswas whisper into his mind, his thoughts. So the jinn uses ability to communicate with humans. They will telepathically insert thoughts and ideas into the person, so the person knows what the jinn is trying to communicate with them and trying to say to them. If we go to humans, we have 50:16 says, And certainly we created mankind, or man, and we know what whispers, waswas, to him, his nafs, his soul, and we are nearer to him than his jugular vein. So let's say you get an evil thought, right? Is that evil thought from a jinn or from your nafs? You actually don't know. It could be from a jinn, but it could also be from your own nafs. So that's why if we come to chapter 114, we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of the one who whispers, the one who withdraws, the one who whispers into the breasts of mankind from among the jinn and the mankind. So if you have an evil thought, you say this because you're seeking refuge in Allah from these whispers, from the jinn, if it's a jinn inserting those thoughts into you, or from mankind, if it's your own nafs whispering to yourself. So if you have an evil thought to, let's say, do something evil, you don't know if that's from your own nafs, from yourself, or from a jinn. There's no way to know. So that's the point of this prayer. You say, I seek refuge in Allah from the evil, the one who whispers, the one who withdraws, because they go away. These thoughts don't stay forever. The one who whispers in the breast of mankind, from the jinn and the mankind, because you don't know where this thought's coming from. So it covers everything. Now, if we go back to the jinns use telepathy, thought transfer, to communicate with humans. This is the wasp whispering to us. Satan used this method when communicating with Adam in the garden. Then Satan whispered wasp to him. He said, "O Adam, shall I direct to you the tree of eternity and a kingdom that will not deteriorate?" So Satan was able to communicate with Adam by putting this question as a thought in his mind, so he knew what Satan was trying to say to him. I will play some clips of alien encounters where the witnesses report communication is done through telepathy, thought transfer. When you see these stories about alien encounters, the aliens, which we know are jinns, communicate them using thought transfer, telepathy, was whispering. That's how they communicate with them and get their message across to the human.
They will go ahead and communicate with you through what we refer to it as thought transfer. A lot of people, well, it's telepathy. Well, no matter what you call it, it's a transfer of thought from their mind to your mind.
I would enter into the clean sphere, and I was not supposed to communicate with the J-Rod at all. I was not supposed to know his name. The reality is we were communicating from the time that I entered into the ambassadorial suite external to the clean sphere, talking back and forth freely. I could hear whatever he was projecting at me from thought, and he could very clearly hear what I was thinking. I say hear, meaning perceive.
Saying this in 2004, so far the way this guy speaks to me feels very genuine and very authentic. And obviously we just had the detail come up there about, telepathic communication. Just a reminder, I feel like today when we hear this, it's almost like not a revelation, because in every sort of encounter we sort of hear about this, some form of it. But again, like, to just remember, this is back in 2004. So to someone watching this for the first time in 2004, probably would have been like, "Oh, okay, bro, telepathy. Yeah, they're communicating in through your mind. Okay, Daniel. Damn, Daniel." But, but to watch this back now, I think this is supporting this story further, because it lines up what we now kind of commonly accept today.
He, in fact, was communicating with me because he had promised not to, apparently, with the Sigma unit. I alluded to the fact that there was conversation underway, but I didn't talk about what it was.
And I'm starting to freak out, but then he starts to talk to me, and it's not my language, but it's coming to, the understanding is like coming into my mind about every word he's saying. So
he's actually saying words.
He's saying words, but it doesn't sound like anything I've heard before.
But you're understanding what he's saying.
But I'm understanding. So I know there's a telepathic thing going on here, and it calms me down at the same time because I'm having to respond to him. And he's like, "Hello, I'm having trouble with my craft."
Before I got to the backyard, I had the flashlight, and I got maybe a few feet from the corner of the house, and then instantly I got a telepathic message. In the message, there was a craft on the ground in the back. Before I got to the backyard, I had the flashlight, and I got maybe a few feet from the corner of the house, and then instantly I got a telepathic message. In the message, there was a craft on the ground in the backyard. I could see several creatures standing around it. So it was in the corner of that field on the grass. Then I saw that there was a creature. The creature that was talking to me was on the roof. He was standing at the edge of the roof right here, looking down at me. He literally had eyes on me. So he told me if I got any closer to the craft that was on the ground, that I would have some sort of sickness. And so in response to that, I threw my hands up and I said, I mean you no harm. And then I just took several large steps back. And then I spun around and ran inside.
This is one of the things that they say, people that have been abducted. I had Travis Walton, this guy.
I've seen. I've watched it.
His
Yeah,
bobblehead.
Yeah, I've watched
He's
it.
very compelling in his descriptions of his encounter with these beings. But one of the things that he was saying was they were talking to him, but it wasn't with words. Like they were communicating with him, and he understood what they were saying, but it wasn't. They weren't saying things. Like, "Hey, Travis, why don't you relax? Because we're here from planet fucking whatever it is."
The information was flowing faster,
yes,
because it was like, boom, right away, what I think, you get it.
Yes, they were explaining things to him in some sort of a telepathic way.
Wow.
And it was mind-blowing to him. And I think that that's probably the future of communication.
Did they, at any time,
say anything to you?
It was like there was communication,
How does the communication take place?
like a thought.
So people report aliens communicating with them using telepathy, thought transfer. Reports also show that the aliens have some range on this ability. And if you didn't know the Jinn alien was around, you may think that these are your own ideas and thoughts. But when you see them and they wish to communicate with you, they use this ability to conduct communication. The same way Satan, a Jinn, whispered to Adam to communicate to him his offer of directing him to a tree. As you can see, the Jinn, which people call aliens, have the ability to put thoughts into humans. It serves as a form of communication, but can easily be used to manipulate humans if they didn't know the Jinn was around. A random evil thought could be from one of these beings putting ideas and thoughts into you. That's why in chapter 114, we seek protection in Allah from the one who whispers into the chests of mankind, whether it is from jinn or from man, our own nafs, as it's not possible to know if an evil thought is from a jinn or our own nafs. Important note, not all evil thoughts are from Satan or an evil jinn. Our own nafs does whisper to us, but jinns do have the ability to whisper into us, and you wouldn't know it unless you saw the jinn or the whispers were communication based, like asking a question or trying to deliver a message. But a thought to do an evil action you may think is from yourself. So chapter 114 protects us from the evil whispers, whether the source is from jinn or from man, our own nafs. Because an evil thought you have, you don't know where it's coming from. So this is a way to cover everything. People worship them. So these verses inform us that people worship the jinn. 37 158. And they made between him and between the jinn a family association. 6 100. And they make with Allah partners, the jinn, while he has created them. 3440. No, they used to worship the jinn. Many of them were believers in them. These verses inform us that many of mankind used to worship the jinn and began associating them with Allah. And this includes even now and into the future until the day of judgment, because some of these verses are speaking from the day of judgment. Like on the day of judgment, it's informing us that the humans used to worship the jinn. So it includes now. So further, proving that the jinn are not invisible beings, but rather visible. And when people saw them, they started to worship them. Something that happened in the past and will continue to happen until the day of judgment. How can people be worshipping jinns if you can never see them? How would they know of them? How would they worship them? So there has to be a way that you can see them. That's why many previous recorded cultures worshipped strange beings, which now people start to say that they were worshipping aliens. When you look at the past cultures in the history, different cultures and civilizations, you'll see that they have on the walls these strange beings that they're worshipping, which were now people are starting to say, oh, they were worshipping aliens, but we know that they were actually jinns. And as always, Allah knows best.